Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to Nephilim Entertainment. I'm your host, Metatron Uriel, and thank you for tuning in. This is my segment. It's Robert Kirkman's Secret History of Comics, and this episode is the finale, the big finale, and it's about Image Comics, the very company in which Robert Kirkman not only works for, but he is also one of the head execs there. So stay back and enjoy. What is up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. And this episode, we learned about Image Comics, which is a very big industry comic that was self-made. These guys sort of branched out. They all started in Marvel. They sort of branched out and done their own thing. Well, a little bit of a background story about them was back in the late 80s, early 90s, was sort of like the artist golden year for most people. I mean, if you worked in comic books, you're making basically a legend of yourself. And three in particular was Todd McFarlane, Rob Liefeld, and Eric Larson. These were the sort of the big to-do artists in Marvel, and they done like the X-Men, Spider-Man, Guardians of the Galaxy, projects like that. It's the ones that we now watch today and are like, eh. So with these guys, they basically, they were drawing comics constantly for our big heroes, making a name for themselves. However, they soon learned, especially after hearing about Jack Kirby, was they were basically getting screwed out of a lot of potential money. I mean, Marvel was cashing in. These guys, not so much. And not only that, but they didn't really have much of a creative say over their characters. Now imagine you put all your hard work and just everything into this character. You give them everything, a background story, you give them multiple characters, multiple faces, you give them like so much of a development and kind of find out your bosses look at you and go, you know what? We're going to decide what we're going to do with them from now on. Okay. Yeah, these guys didn't really care for that notion. So they couldn't control their characters. They weren't making enough income, so they decided, you know what? We're just going to go off and we're going to do our own company. Yeah. Back in this time, there was only two comic book companies you could work for. Marvel, DC. That's it. You couldn't go off and do your own thing because basically Marvel and DC pretty much was the two giant empires of the comic world. So when these guys come up with the notion of, hey, we're going to start our own comic, everybody laughed. I mean, think about it. Yeah, you built a name for yourself, but come on. Start a rival company with these other people? Really? No. No. So, but you know, they did anyway. They started Image Company, and basically their first rule is that the company doesn't get jack of what you earn. That is all going into your pocket. So everyone thought it was doomed from the beginning. Well, February 1st of '92 was like their first little group powwow, and they pretty much established the rules. Like, one, the company doesn't get make money. You do. You're responsible for your own comics. No one can come in and give you editorial BS on it whatsoever. You get to decide basically what you want to do with this character. So at this point, Image, they made a few would later become big names. They made Youngbloods, they made Spawn, especially Spawn. I remember Spawn growing up. They made Savage Dragon, and they made Cats. Well, no one knew that once they did this, this would blow up. I mean, blow up. They became the number two, not number one, number two comic book company at this point. They outbeat DC. DC had at least 60 comic books running in continuum. 60 comic books. That's, I don't know how many characters. Yet Image beat them out with just 6 titles at the time. Beat them out. They were selling all kinds of comics, making a huge name for themselves. I mean, these guys were rolling cash. They didn't know what to do with it. They were spending on crazy things, like making replicas of stuff that would happen in comics. I mean, these guys just, God, they blew up in ways that nobody imagined. So with them becoming, the number two, outselling DC, I mean, they were right on the heels of Marvel too. I mean, don't let it sell you short. They were right on the heels of Marvel. Marvel should have been sweating at this point. All right, because they were like right there chomping at their heels. Life was good. Life was great. But like anything, you're sort of built on your own locomotion. After a while, it starts dying down. Well, Marvel at some point, they swallowed their pride and they offered some of these guys, hey, why don't you come back and help us revamp some of these characters? They're not doing so good. Why don't you help us come back? So when the offers started coming on the table, some people were actually taking up on it. And the problem was some of the people were kind of like drawn between it. Some were, okay, we'll go help Marvel. We're cool with it. Others were like, no, these guys were who we were getting away from. Blah, blah, blah. Apparently, it didn't sit over so well with everybody. Well, like all good things, it starts falling apart really bad. I mean, really bad. Between 95 and 2000, Image start going downhill. I mean, the band starts breaking up basically. Different artists start going off and doing their own thing. One guy who was in charge of Wildfire, I can't remember if it was Eric, he ends up selling his part of the company or his title and his little storylines to DC. Well, he becomes an exec over at DC, which is goody for you, hey. But everybody else is not feeling the same way. Eventually, stocks start falling. Nobody's wanting to invest in comic books anymore, and if they do invest in comic books, they're not getting nothing for it. I mean, it was sort of a dark time for comics everywhere. I mean, they were sort of becoming the little nobody wanted. So when all this happens, you think the company's done for. Well, they start breathing new life into it. They start doing something that most comic book companies didn't do at the time, which was indie comics. Now, for those who don't know what indie comics mean, it's independently funded comics. It's not something that a big company makes. It's something that somebody drew in their basement or drew in their garage, and they're trying to make money off of it. Robert Kirkman is one of those people. Now, Robert Kirkman came up with the title of Walking Dead, and I love the story about how he originally tossed up the idea to the execs. He said, "I got a zombie book." It's basically he introduced it as the Planet of the Zombies. I'm so glad that he changed the title, because if I had to tune in every Sunday to Planet of the Zombies, I'd laugh at myself. But his original spin on it, and get this, his original spin on it, and I see where this came from, was that it was actually aliens who made the zombies and unleashed them on the earth to overthrow the earth. Well, that's the story he sold it as. And they're like, oh yeah, cool, sounds great, draw it up, we'll take it, alright. So when he goes and does this, he does not include any aliens whatsoever. It's just strictly humans versus zombies. After a while, they start noticing, Robert, ain't too many aliens in this. It's basically, where's the aliens at? I lied. There's no aliens. Oh, okay. Well, you're better off without them. Go, Robert. So, Robert, he pretty much, at this point, the best-selling comic, and I'm sure it still sells today. In fact, I've heard its name for the longest time, is Spawn. Spawn is one of their best sellers. Well, when Robert Kirkman came along, and this is how he basically described it. He said for a while it was like this. Between them, here's Spawn, here's him. Well, it's basically like this. Well, then eventually you start seeing this, and then it's like, And the next thing you know, it's kind of like this. Here's Walking Dead, here's Spawn. So with that, Robert Kirkman became pretty much the poster boy for Image Comics. Kudos to him. And now you got the TV show, you got video games, books, all kinds of stuff. I mean, Walking Dead has blown up. I, for one, have covered at least 2 incarnations of The Walking Dead on my channel. Not to mention, I have most of the collaboration comics. I have the first like 5 seasons on DVD. I have the first season of The Fear of the Walking Dead on Blu-ray. I mean, you gotta applaud them. And what all started this was basically a handful of guys saying, you know what, we're tired of the industry. We want to do things our way. We want to do things what we feel is right. And they started their own company. And now, with that, who knows when the next artist could release the next Walking Dead? I mean, who knows? But that's going to be a wrap for me. What you think about this little series I did? Was it very informative? Did you watch it along with me? Did you learn some things yourself? Let me know down in the comments below. But be sure to give me a big thumbs up, subscribe to my page for more content, and be sure to stay tuned to the end of the video for more content. But I am Metatron Uriel. Thank you for watching my series. To all you daydreamers and creators out there, keep your heads in the clouds. Peace.